Mark, can you hear us? Hello, Mark.
The one guardrail down from your house in John Deere Green, it says Maddie, west side there, Mark. Yeah, towards my house, from your house. Yeah, that was my dog.
Well, my yard is, they try to take that Esker plastic, they're tearing up my yard like crazy.
There's no guardrail there, so.
No, the one guy does, it's some little rice burners, it's like silver, we just can't get a license plate.
Looks like that.
No, I don't think it looks like that.
Well, that one is blown up right now, so it couldn't have been that.
We've got it on Layla's camera, but we can't get a license.
We're just waiting a minute. Mr. Heaston is joining us virtually, so we're going to see if we can get that connection. So, Mark, can you hear us?
I don't know why
Young
he
kid that bought that one, blew it up a couple weeks ago.
or wouldn't be able to hear you.
Probably somebody young that's just getting into it.
Uh-huh. Not a car you want to run, you don't know how to drive. Yeah.
I don't drive anymore. I'm down to bicycle. I filled up my gas tank the other day to clear my budget for the month.
Homer Kern, we talked about
Well, if I rode mine, I'd probably until I died.
he was what, 200 plus?
It's all about my extended warranty. Let's go ahead and get started. I can always read Mark's report if necessary. So I'd like to call, it's 7:03. I'd like to call the regular meeting of the German Township Trustees to order on March 14th, 2022. Could we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll go ahead and do the roll call. Mr. Stubbs? Here. Mr. Potter? Here. Ms. Cross? Here. Also, for the record, let it be known that Road Superintendent Jeremy Holbert is present. Police Chief Joe Enzik is present. Zoning Inspector Haley Sewell is present. And hopefully Mr. Heaston, our fiscal officer, is present online. House Bill 51 actually allows him to attend virtually. They changed that rule just a couple of weeks ago.
He is online. We're just having some technical issues with volume right now, so hopefully we'll get that sorted out here.
We'll go ahead next with visitor comments, and to remind visitors that they can really chime in anytime they have questions. Just please, and or announce to me that you want to ask a question. So first, we have visitors, Lonnie Peterson from TSC Hanson Communication, formerly Consolidated Communication. They're here to present information about internet in the German Township. So if you guys would like to make any sort of presentation at the podium. Sure. State your name and your address the first time you speak there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Home address?
Sure.
Business address?
Business is fine.
Lonnie Pedersen with 820 Glenwood Road, Wapakoneta. So, glad to be here today. What I'm going to do is talk to you a little bit about telephone service company and what our plans are for this area. And I'm going to introduce Mark Hansen, who's going to tell you a little bit about Hansen Communications. So telephone service company has been around since 1895 and headquartered in Wapakoneta. We serve a lot of Auglaize County, Van Wert County, Allen County, have grown quite large, about 55 employees in that area. So we took possession, Hansen Communications bought TSC, Telephone Service Company, in 2007, 14 years ago, 15 years ago now. And then Hansen also bought Middle Point Telephone Company that's in Van Wert County. And obviously they just bought Consolidated. And Consolidated is spread from Germantown, and then they're up in Putnam County, and they're actually in Orwell or Ashtabula County. So all those properties became owned by Hanson Communications of Ohio, effective February 1. It was an asset purchase, and so the assets have all been purchased. We've contracted with Consolidated to do billing and collecting till we can get our billing transition complete. That's going to be June 1st, it looks like. So our last bill from Consolidated will be the May bill. We'll do our final conversion and testing and getting everything going on the June 1st bill. So given that, there's just a lot of logistics, and we're excited to be here, as you know. And the telephone company, Consolidated, was a big company, very big company that is publicly traded. And when they bought Fairpoint, which was the former owners before Germantown, it's mostly property in Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont. So there was 25,000 lines up there, and there was, you know how many in Ohio. I think there was about 4,000 or 5,000. They weren't investing in Ohio. They weren't investing in Germantown, and we're going to change that. So we've already changed it. We've already had troubles. Fortunately, no big troubles here, but some of the other exchange, we've already had equipment failures that we're replacing and doing things like that. So we're just here really to introduce ourselves, let you know that there is fiber optic, what we figured about 300 yards that direction from this building. Serves an RT over there on Staple Road. And so our plan is fiber to the home, fiber to the business. That's one of the things that we're very good at doing, and all the construction that we do these days is fiber optic construction. So we are going to try and certainly improve the copper plant too until we can replace it with fiber. But we do, you know, we're locally based, and we're going to do our best to improve service. And internet, we know, is the king of what we want to provide. We want to become a broadband company versus a telephone company. And we do provide video in a lot of our areas, so we're a triple play provider. We don't know if we're going to do that down here or not. We've kind of kicked that idea around, but it's just early enough that we really haven't made a decision on that. We know that the market share is not very good for this exchange because spectrum is kind of everywhere. So with that, we can maybe ask questions at the end, but I'll introduce Mark Hanson, who's the president of Hanson Communications. Can you tell us about Hanson Communications?
Yeah, like you said, I'm
Name and address, please.
Mark Hanson at 168 Southmore Shore, St. Mary's. We're a family operation, and so my father started it back in 1951. He was working as a lineman. He originally wanted to become a milk truck driver, and he quit school when he was, well, my grandpa died an alcoholic, so I never met him, but so the kids were all having to work, and so he was going to go do that. Then he met my mother, and she said, no, if you want to be married to me, you got to be staying at home more. And that's how he got the job of working on it. And I'm not going to bore you with a lot of the information other than this first part's pretty interesting. He learned his trade really, really well to build plants. That's what he liked to do. He liked to climb poles, and we had open wires, and this is when everything was party lines, and we had the cord boards. And anyway, but some other people saw that he had this ability to do this, and so they said, can you come and buy all these switcher office? And they had all these switchers around at the farm sites. He brought it in, and he saw that he started building this line with another guy, and he built this all and started networking it all together. And then he needed to get a switchboard, and he had no money. I mean, my mother used to say when she would wash the floor, the water would go through the floor. And so, but us kids, we never knew that, you know, we were 5. And anyway, so Stromberg Carlson is it in Rochester, New York? Anyway, I believe that's where their facilities were. They said, somebody had said, I don't have any money. And he said, well, you don't need any money. We'll give you a switchboard. You just pay us on a loan, and you can have the company, we'll buy the company for you, and you can buy it back. So we bought a company right away with no money. That's the way he started. And we just grew from there. And that's where it started, was in Minnesota. We still have our main office in Wilmer, which is about 100 miles west of Minneapolis. And then we bought companies from US West. It was, became CenturyLink, and now they're Lumen in South Dakota. We serve, like Mount Rushmore, we've got fiber up to Mount Rushmore, the National Monument. We serve Keystone and Custer State Park. It's a beautiful area out there in the Black Hills. Then we serve on the East River in South Dakota also. We got one company in Nebraska. These are very rural areas, and I remember when we came out here and we were going to be buying this company, and we met with the people, and they asked us, well, how are you going to deal with, this is a pretty rural area. Well, you don't realize, I have a home in South Dakota too, on the river. There's only 200 people that live in that town. So, I mean, we're used to we deal with tribes and very rural areas. So this is actually quite densely populated area here from what we're very familiar with. But we are, I mean, that's the way we grew up. When I was 14 years old, I was a baseball player, and I was fairly decent. I was on the varsity squad, and I remember the Legion wanted me to play baseball. And I said, well, you know, Dad, I think they want to play baseball, and I'm going to be pretty busy. And he says, well, do you want to own a car? And I said, yeah. So I actually started when I was 14, working construction with our construction company, and I'm still here doing it. And so my heart is toward I really enjoy the plant, and that's where my emphasis is. My brother's emphasis is in the financial side of it, so he deals on that side of it. And then we've got our CFO and all those people, and then, of course, our Chief Operating Officer, Lonnie, here. He's been here quite a few years,
32 years in Ohio.
32 years, so he's got a big background. So we've done this before, but it's not an overnight thing. So what we generally try to do is to work an area, and so we'll work an area in town, but we're not going to be gangbuster, you know, just because we've got a lot of things going on in a lot of different areas, and plus there's all the issues with getting materials and, you know, for you to be able to do all this at once, and contractors. So we will be there will be areas that we'll be able to actually provide the services that we can deliver. And like Lonnie said, fiber to the home is what we've decided on. We've gone to a lot of different symposiums and listened to different presentations, and it was always interesting. My brother and I were sitting there, and they'd always, you know, whether it was the DOCSIS, you know, the DOCSIS that the charters use, or the wireless, they always came back and they always compared it to fiber. They said it's just as good as fiber. And I remember Bruce and I saying, well, why don't we do fiber? You know, so then we can, we were trying to figure out how in the world we're going to be able to sustain our business for generations to come. Because that's what I've got right now. We've got three of the nephews that are working in the business also. So anyway, that's why we've chose that, even though it is the most expensive type of infrastructure to build. That's what we're going to be doing. And so we're very excited. We're excited that we got, you know, Tony and Glenn also to come and work for us. They're excellent. I think I know they're very excited too to see what we're going to do, and we're going to work very closely with them because they know the area. We do depend a lot upon our employees because they're the ones that understand the area, and they seem to be very open with coming up with ideas. I appreciate the opportunity to come here.
So your goal is to provide fiber to most of German Township? Is that the long-term goal, or?
Here's the rule.
Yes, yeah, so, let me give you a good example. Middle Point, if anybody's familiar with Middle Point, is between Van Wert and Dulles, up in northwest Ohio. We bought that exchange in 2014, or Hanson bought that exchange. And very rural, very sparse. We've done the entire exchange with fiber, and overbuilt it with fiber. And it's probably geographically the same size as this exchange, with a lot less homes, a lot less homes. So
time-wise, it's really kind of hard to say from start to finish.
You know, it really does depend. There's a lot of broadband money out there too.
Right.
And that's been very instrumental in us getting a lot of our work done, especially in South Dakota and Minnesota. In Minnesota, we finished all of our rural areas already with fiber. And in South Dakota, we're still working. We're in the Black Hills. It's pretty rocky. We're dealing with, it's a little slower. And so we're not done there, but we have to be done with that. We're in a 10-year program right now with the AFC. We're in this, with the FCC called ACAM, and we're in the 6th year right now, so we only have 4 more years. But yeah, I mean, that's what our goal is, because we don't see us being able to deliver over our copper services over time. It's just not going to be able to compete with the Elon Musks and, you know, all the different things that are out there.
Does any other trustees have any questions?
Well, I know internet speed and reliability is terrible in our township, so anything that we can do to improve that is definitely a step in the right direction.
That's what we really like about the fiber, is when we provision it for 100 megs, it's 100 megs at the house. And so it can be symmetrical. There's no issues with that.
Okay.
And as people are getting more high definition cameras and security systems, they're needing more of the upload.
Right.
And that's where some of the other services have some issues. Well, that isn't an issue with fiber because it's all lasers.
in our fiber to the home areas, we call them gigahoods, and we have that trademarked. And we sell two types of services, the 100 meg or 1 gig. So you can actually get 1,000 megabits.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we sell 1 gig service in residential areas.
Does anybody else, audience, have a question?
Yeah.
Mark?
Go ahead, Dave.
David, go ahead.
Yeah, at the home, and I assume when we say fiber to the house, we're talking a new cable to replace the copper that's already there from the fiber point, wherever that's at for each of us. We all have different ones, or a lot of us have different ones of those. You said there's one 300 feet. Well, there's one out at three roads out, 3 miles out of town.
Mm-hmm.
There's another one. That's the one we're hooked to.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's going to take a fiber cable about a mile and a tenth to get to my house, something like that. And the fiber, the actual glass, will come to my home through some kind of a device that'll be at my house, I assume, a converter from whatever modem facilities I have.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you stop? Where is the fiber actually the end of it, and I take over? I have to pay the rest.
We actually bring the fiber right in and plug it into your modem. It's called the GigaSpire. So it's actually fiber all the way to your device.
To the modem itself. So that's inside the modem. Do you provide the modem, or will?
Yeah, we do. And that way we can, when you have issues, which we hope you don't have, but I mean, we're able to diagnose, what the issues are.
Okay, and the modem capable of Ethernet and Wi-Fi?
Yeah, and it can do Wi-Fi 6, which is coming out. Right now it's just 5, but you'll start seeing that within the next year, the instruments coming out that are Wi-Fi 6.
In the interest of profitability, I'm assuming there has to be a density, customers per mile, for example. Can you address that a little bit? Is it an overall for the township, or is it simply customers per mile get priority? How do you-
We put,
how's
what
your
we
plan
do is,
work?
well, the plan works is we work it, we're very early in this here, but generally we work in an area. So it's all by.
A geographical.
Right, I don't want to get into it's called GPON. It's a passive optical network. That's what it is. It has 64-way splits on one fiber, or you can go 32. It just depends upon the distances. Here, we're going to be able to use a lot of 64-way. So out here, you've got a 24 fiber coming up to your remote here, and there's an 18 fiber that's probably headed out to where you live out here.
I don't know what technically is out there.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's another one that runs out there, but, so, I mean, that's basically the way the network works.
Mr. Keener, do you have a question?
Yeah, I do. So you mentioned you've done some other areas that are geographically similar. How long does it take you to typically go from start to finish to where the township's going to be from dial-up to having fiber? And I'm not trying to hold you to 3 months, 6 months. I mean, are we talking 5 years or 10 years or 20 years?
Yeah, these are the ones.
Specific as possible.
Well, a good example is like Middle Point, again, about the same geographic area as this exchange. We did that in 2 years.
Okay.
But since, you know, when we bought Middle Point in 2014, that's all we bought was Middle Point. So we do have to take a look at Ashtabula County and Putnam County where the other properties are. So we're going to be doing the same thing there. This had to be approved by the FCC, and we committed to invest an additional $10 million over the next 5 years in that filing that we did with the FCC. So we will be putting some fiber in the ground and buying some equipment.
And are you finding contractors that know how to do it?
We've used the same in Ohio. We've used the same contractor for the last 40 years. I've been there 32 years, and they were using them when I got there. And they actually have done work in Germantown for Germantown Independent Phone Company. So, yeah, they're actually struggling these days too with finding work, but we have a really good relationship with, it's Myers Construction, but we've used them forever, and they do all our work. So we contract out the work.
What's your estimated cost comparison to your competitor as being Spectrum?
If you just want internet, we sell 100 meg for $70 right now. And so that's where we're at with.
What does your gig go to?
$100.
I'm in.
Then cost-wise for installation, I'm assuming like Mr. Jerome has existing service with the company. Are you going to be replacing, just as a general rule, his current copper service with fiber? Or will he have a choice to say, I really don't want to pay for it, keep your fiber, I'll keep my copper?
No, we'll want to change it, no matter what service he has. If it was just dial tone, we still can do dial tone over fiber. Sure. So once we start working an area, we're going to want to abandon all the copper.
Okay. So then cost-wise, is he going to,
There's no, we don't charge installation.
Really?
Wow.
We did Middle Point, like I said, we just didn't charge for any plowing the drops in or installation. We just converted them to fiber. They get better service, and they typically would buy more product. So, very good.
All right, well, thank you guys very much.
Yeah,
Appreciate you coming out. You don't have to stay for the rest. You're welcome to, but I don't think you're welcome.
Well, you have my contact information, and we certainly will be in touch.
Hey, the sooner the better.
Yeah, we look forward.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, gentlemen. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Do we have any other visitor comments? We exhausted that? Good. We got next the fiscal officer's report. Can Mark do that if he's not able to?
He was going to call in also. He can see us and hear us. He can't talk to us. There he is.
I can read it.
Yeah, we cannot hear you, Mark.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
And about that for,
I can call him.
well, it's not ready. Well, my Time Warner, well, my Spectrum.
We'll read it for them.
$9 a month, $8 a month. You can go to.
Until Mark can come back in, I'll go ahead, and I've got his fiscal officer report, I will just read that.
Okay, yeah, he can hear you.
Okay. So pretend I'm Mark Heaston. As you know, I will be attending the meeting via WebEx from Tennessee. In that regard, the governor recently signed House Bill 51, which allows electronic meetings through 6/30/22. I have not been able to complete the minutes of the 2/14/22 regular meeting. After preparing a draft, I always watch the WebEx recording to ensure that I have accurately reflected the business conducted. When Haley still did not post the recording to the township's YouTube channel after the February meeting, I sent her an email on 2/28/22 asking when it would be done. As of Saturday, 3/12, the recording has not been posted. I will review the attached February financial reports. 1, 2/28/22 fund status. 2, year-to-date February 2022 cash summary by fund. 3, month of February 2022 cash summary by fund. 4, February 2022 receipt listing. And 5, February 2022 payment listing. There are no unusual items to note. I will ask for a motion to approve the February financial reports and authorize the payment of February bills, warrants 50557 through 50571, and vouchers 86 through 196 for payroll direct deposit, tax withholdings, and other electronic payments. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the February financial reports and authorize the payments of February bills, warrants 50557 through 50571, and vouchers 86 through 196 for payroll direct deposit, tax withholding, and other electronic payments. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
And all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I have attached a resolution to declare the entire American Rescue Plan Fund Act grant of $303,149.58 as revenue loss by electing to use a standard allowance that was allowed under the U.S. Department of Treasury's final rule. As a reminder, a revenue loss category is the most flexible of the 4 categories of allowable ARPA uses, as it allows the funds to be used for any government services. Again, as a reminder, since the ARPA grant is federal money, we are required to follow federal procurement rules, not Ohio's procurement rules. Before we start spending ARPA funds, we will need to adopt written policies and procedures regarding federal program compliance requirements. I still need to do some research to see if there are templates that we can use to develop these policies and procedures. So it's kind of a long resolution, but I think it's so important that I should read this. So I'd like to introduce Resolution 2022, and I do not know the number on that.
Is he able to communicate that?
He says need a roll call vote.
I'm going to read it.
Resolution 2022-16.
I would like to introduce Resolution 2022-16, a resolution adopting the use of the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 standard allowance and its presumption of revenue loss due to the public health emergency, and to use the amount authorized herein to fund government services. So I move to adopt the following resolution. Whereas the township has received a distribution of monies, the ARPA funds, from the American Rescue Plan of 2021, ARPA or the Act, and whereas Congress passed the Act effective March 11th, 2021, and whereas Section 603 created the Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Fund, which, among other things, appropriated monies to cities, non-entitlement units of government, and counties to mitigate fiscal effects stemming from the public health emergency with respect to the coronavirus disease, COVID-19. And whereas Section 603C generally provides the use of funds subject to paragraph 2 and except as provided in paragraphs 3 and 4, a metropolitan city, non-entitlement unit of local government or county shall only use the funds provided under a payment made under this section to cover costs incurred by the metropolitan city, non-entitlement unit of local government or county by December 31st, 2024. A, to respond to the public health emergency with respect to the coronavirus disease 2019, COVID-19, or its negative economic impacts, including assistance to households, small businesses, and nonprofits, or aid to impacted industries such as tourism, travel, and hospitality. B, to respond to workers performing essential work during the COVID-19 public health emergency by providing premium pay to eligible workers of the metropolitan city, non-entitlement unit of local government, or county that are performing such essential work, or by providing grants to eligible employees that might have eligible workers to perform essential work. C, for the provision of government services to the extent of the reduction in revenue of such metropolitan city, non-entitlement unit of local government or county due to the COVID-19 public health emergency relative to revenues collected in the most recent full fiscal year of the metropolitan city, non-entitlement unit of local government or county prior to the emergency. Or D, to make necessary investments in water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. Whereas the Department of Treasury final rule published on January 6, 2022 and effective April 1st, 2022 provides in part the Treasury presumes that up to $10 million in revenue has been lost to public health emergency, and recipients are permitted to use that amount, not to exceed the award amount, to fund government services, the standard allowance. Whereas the rule further observes that the standard allowance provides an estimate of revenue loss that is based on extensive analysis of average revenue loss across states and localities, and offers a simple, convenient way to determine revenue loss, particularly for coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery fund smallest recipients. This change is intended to promote administrative efficiency and simply revenue loss calculations for smaller recipients. Whereas the rule further clarifies that recipients can use SLFRF funds on government services up to the revenue loss amount, whether that be the standard allowance amount or the amount calculated using the final rule four-step process. Government services generally include any service traditionally provided by a government, unless Treasury states otherwise. Whereas some common examples of government services, especially recognized by the Treasury, are as follows: road building and maintenance, and other infrastructure, health services, general government administration staff and administrative facilities, environmental remediation, provision of fire, police and other public safety services, including purchase of fire trucks and police vehicles, maintenance or pay-go funded building infrastructure, modernization of cybersecurity, including hardware, software, and protection of critical infrastructure. Whereas government services is deemed by the Treasury the most flexible eligible use category under the SLFRF program, the funds are subject to streamlined reporting and compliance requirements. And whereas funds utilized pursuant to the standard revenue loss allowance continue to have certain restrictions, including deposit into pension funds, satisfaction of judgments or settlements, contributions to financial reserves or rainy day funds. Now, therefore, it is hereby resolved by the board that the township elects to use the standard allowance and its presumption of revenue loss due to the public health emergency and to use the amount authorized herein to fund government services. No obligations paid under the authority of this resolution were incurred prior to March 3rd, 2021. Almost done. Be it further resolved that it is hereby found and determined that all formal actions of the township concerning and relating to the adoption of this resolution were adopted in an open meeting of the township trustees, and that all deliberations of the township trustees and any of the committees that resulted in such formal action were in a meeting open to the public in compliance with all legal requirements, including section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code. Could I have a roll call vote?
I'll second that.
You need, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, could I have a...
Mr. Cross?
Yes.
Mr. Stubbs?
Yes.
Mr. Potter?
Yes.
Okay. Let it be noted that the resolution is passed. Thanks for hanging in there, guys. I know it was a lot of talk. So I think that's all for Mr. Houston's report. Could I have a police department report? Chief, thank you very much.
The 2022 annual police report is complete. Trustees should have received a copy on Friday via email with my report. The public can obtain a copy by stopping in or requesting one via email. We can put it in a PDF and send it out to you if you'd like a copy. Mr. Brown. Shred Day is coming, May 7th, 10 a.m. to noon. Drop-off will begin at 9:30. Bring your unwanted paperwork that you've been hoarding all COVID season and any of your unwanted medications, and we'll take those in and destroy both. Go ahead.
Old batteries. Old batteries.
County Solid Waste.
Sandpiper,
Lithium or alcohol.
SLA, that action.
That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Jeremy, could we have the road department report?
Sure. Several issues to discuss tonight. Number one, as you're all aware, I sent an email letting you know that we were not chosen as one of the townships to receive ODOT stimulus grant monies. The only township in Montgomery County to receive stimulus money was Washington Township for $189,000 for the sidewalk. So that was kind of unfortunate, but roll with the punches. I know I had a little bit of correspondence with Mr. Easthand about the possibility of using ARPA funds to pick up the slack on the Siegel Road project. Obviously, the amount that we applied for through ODOT was significantly more than what we would use from the ARPA money if that was available to the township or department to use. So that's something we might want to keep in mind here. Probably by the next meeting, might need to know whether that's going to be available, because Siegel is probably first priority on road work. So that's going to determine if we get ARPA money for Siegel, then that's going to free up some other money to do other projects, which I'll go over later on. Second item, Scott and I finished the 2021-2022 roadside right-of-way tree limb mowing, trying to keep some of those limbs back off the edge of the road, keep them from hitting the trash trucks and the delivery vehicles and the school buses and so on. So got that all completed, just in time to take the arm mower off the tractor and probably put the bush hog on. So that season's coming on pretty quickly. Third item kind of goes along with the first item, 2022 contracted road resurfacing. I'd like to have the board's approval. I'm not sure if we have to take any formal action as far as just getting quotation or getting quotes for this, but basically we're going to do some more Cape Seal and micro mix this year, kind of like we did on the subdivisions last year. Tentatively, Wind Dancer Drive in its entirety and Starry Night Drive in its entirety. We're going to try to get those Cape Sealed this year. Chip seal, tentatively, Shemp Road in its entirety. Moyer Road, there's a section that didn't get done last year between Browns Run and Puddinbag that needs to be completed. It's going to need some extensive patching before we chip seal it, but we're going to try to get it done this year. And there's a small section on Kiefer Road just west of Browns Run as well, that we're going to try to get that done as well. So, and obviously asphalt paving. Siegel Road's first priority. If we are able to use ARPA money for Siegel Road, we're going to try to do Siegel Road and Butter Street. Butter Street's going to be a cooperative project with the city of Germantown. As you know, or may not know, Butter Street is a boundary road where East Lane belongs to the township and the West Lane belongs to the city of Germantown. So both lanes are in pretty bad shape. The city has contacted me about, they think they're ready to rebuild their section, and it would be kind of silly to only rebuild half the road. So that's one of those projects. We knew it was coming. It's just a matter of when it would fit in. And like I said, the Siegel Road was able to be covered by mostly ARPA money. I think Butter Street would fit into the 2021 contracted road resurfacing budget line items. So I've kind of given you some rough ideas on costs, estimates up above there for the Cape Seal, chip seal, and asphalt. So I just wanted to kind of let you know where we're at on that. And with the board's approval, I'm gonna start getting final numbers and we can, accept, contracts later this year. Because the earlier we can get this going, hopefully the better pricing we get, so.
Yeah, I have no problem with that.
No, I don't think we need to do a,
I don't think we need, because we're not,
No,
you know, just to go into contract, we'll need to do a resolution, but just to solicit pricing. No. The only other item I had on there is, through some correspondence with Gary Shoup with Montgomery County Engineer's Office. He made me aware that, the county has a driveway access permitting process that I had no idea that we even had to follow that. We have our own driveway culvert permit, and we have a right-of-way permit that is required when utilities go in the right-of-way, water underneath roads and set poles and all that kind of stuff. But apparently, unless we adopt our own driveway access code, we have to let the county do that. So from here on out, the zoning department probably is the biggest person that needs to know that is before anybody does a driveway, they have to go through the county to get the access. Now, once they do that, then they have to get a driveway permit from the township. And that's how that kind of will work out.
That's a driveway access on a township road or county road?
Township, or unless we adopt our own access management rules and regulations, which doesn't sound like something we really want to do.
And it seems like that application was pretty much straightforward.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't, didn't seem that difficult.
Right.
The county actually comes out and will check those roads out, so.
So I wanted to bring that up because I know it affects the zoning department. And then, you know, if you guys want more information on that, I do have an email that I got from Gary Shoup. It's kind of long and dry, but it's all the legal mumbo jumbo that goes along with the authority that gives, you know, what gives them the authority to do that on township and county roads. So
It was an eye-opening experience.
it was a long read. So, other than that, I think that's all I have. Any questions?
I got a quick question, Jeremy. When you guys do Butter Street, are they gonna widen that at all?
That isn't in the plan.
Okay.
It is pretty narrow, and I know the city had considered widening on their side, which is good for us, because it makes the whole road wider.
Right.
But it's more difficult for them, because they got all the driveways. So, but as far as from a financial standpoint, we still have the money to do it, so.
So we shall do something about all the chuck holes.
On the potholes along the edge and the berm, yes.
A lot of times I go making 725 if I'm going to the IGA instead of going up Butter Street.
Yeah.
Anything else, Jeremy?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Okay, let's move on to the trustee reports. Mr. Potter?
All right, well, me and Jeremy, of course, we have our talk of the month, and went to the park board. We created a committee on the MMI park, to try to start getting something on that.
Miami Military Institute.
That's correct.
To let everybody know, yeah.
Yep, and so I am on that committee, me and Dave Short and Terry Johnson, and then a couple others. There's 5 of us total. So, we'll try to get something started on that. And, you know.
Mr. Stubbs?
I just have a few things tonight. First and foremost, Mark Heaston, if you can hear me, I've put a $10,000 check on your desk as payment from the cemetery today. So they've made a payment to start the year towards the loan. The fare is $5,000 with the cat diesel has been fixed. The injector pump went bad. And then they did some other work while they had it. So it will be ready for the season. That's the big one you usually see Mark on down by the road. Mark has some equipment that's been in the storage shed since he started. And he wanted to know if you'd be interested in any of it. If not, we're gonna post it online. There's a big blower,
As opposed to on Gov.
okay, he was gonna check with you, just, we're gonna post it on Gov Deals, but he wanted to make sure that you and the city didn't want anything before we did. I didn't think you would, but he wanted to make that offer, just
I
in
appreciate
case.
it.
So, on the pool, we have increased our prices slightly for the year, based on inflation and paying our lifeguards. There's a slight increase in the daily admission and the pass price as well. WRCG, I spoke with Trustee Hodson from Jackson Township, and he's looking for a date that we can use their building to have a meeting. So that'll be scheduled hopefully pretty soon. And then last, on the WRCG, I talked to him too about a summer meeting just between our townships, and he's gonna talk with his trustees. So sometime early summer to midsummer, we're talking about getting together, just Jackson and Durbin Township, to discuss common interests and common goals and where we look to go forward. I noticed that the senior oversight had posted, the city had posted a senior oversight position. Do you know if they've worked out the requirements for how they can fill that position?
I do not know that, but
Okay.
I think there's going to be an oversight meeting next month, so.
Okay. Okay, I just saw it posted today, actually, and
Yeah.
so I thought I'd ask. Send my condolences to Chief Shade. I know, Joe and Sergeant Birch went today to his father's funeral. He passed away. Condolences from the township to him. He's a great chief for Jackson Township, and I know our departments work very closely. I got a complaint about Anthony Road being closed after the high water 2 times ago. And from a resident, I reached out to Jeremy, he took care of it, and it was open by Monday, as the county had told you they would. So I appreciate your quick action. There was more to it than just moving the signs. There was mud and other stuff frozen to the road, so it wasn't just an easy fix. They had to wait the weekend to fall and get the road cleaned off. That concludes my report.
I'm sorry, I forgot the zoning report. Do you have anything?
That's okay. I do, but first, Mr. Houston said, lines 6 through 8 on his report did not get read. I didn't know if you wanted to finish that.
Yeah, let me, after the one.
Yeah,
Yeah, let me finish the fiscal officer report. The 2021 annual financial report is now available online. Once on the auditor's website, choose the year from the drop-down screen, and Excel spreadsheet will open. Click on the Township tab and scroll down to find German Township, Montgomery County, line 362. In addition, the Township's 2021 transaction will soon be viewable on the Ohio Checkbook website. I will provide information on how to access the Ohio Checkbook once it is posted. We received the Ohio Township Association Risk Management Authority OTARMA renewal for the upcoming policy year. The invoice amount was $23,785 and has been paid. The OTARMA renewal included an announcement of the $800,000 distribution to member townships. Our dividend is $1,472.53 and should be received in 30 to 60 days. My condolences to former trustee Aber Reed and the entire Reddick family on the recent passing of their father, Judge Robert Reddick III. I have known Judge Reddick since we were in high school together, and our families have been friends for generations. His passing is a huge loss to the German Township community. So that completes the fiscal officer report. Thank you.
my report is pretty short tonight. We have the Board of Zoning Appeals case, 2022-60 CUV was heard on 3/8 and approved. That case approved the use of the property for the new school building, for the pre-K through 12 school building. New news, I have done 1 ag exempt permit on Beck Road. We have the Zoning Commission regular meeting on April 5th, the Board of Zoning Appeals regular meeting on April 12th. And beyond that, do we need to talk about the fees for the zoning permit for the school?
Yeah, I'm going to bring that up in mine.
Awesome, and that is all I have.
Okay, I'll go ahead with my report. On February 22nd, Shinoa at the Senior Citizen Center received a phone call inquiring about renting the Senior Center out. Janot explained that she couldn't schedule rentals because of a lack of volunteers. The caller got quite irate with her. Janot forwarded that information to Mayor Terry Johnson and City Manager Julie Gilliland. So sadly, this is the current status of the senior center. Again, if you know anyone who would like to volunteer, let me or the senior center know. So basically, they're not able to have rent a senior center for parties or anything like that, which decreases their income. So it's kind of a vicious circle. So I attended the Germantown Council meeting on 3/7/2021. Jeff Jones was sworn in by the auditor Carl Keith as the new council member. Chief Aldridge recognized Aaron Jones for his actions to help a resident escape a fire in Germantown. The chief stated that the other man who assisted Mr. Jones has not been located, and that was the case where she jumped out the window and was saved by Mr. Jones. Mr. Wapsig again reminded the council of the upcoming vote on the JED on May 3rd. So kind of lead into that, if it is approved by the voters, German Township will have to appoint someone to the JED Board of Directors. According to ORC 715.72, the board members are selected as follows. I'll just do the first two. One member representing the municipalities, Germantown in this case, gets the first pick for a term of 1 year. One member representing the townships, German Township in this case, gets the first pick, and it's a term of 2 years. The other two other representatives are filled by either an employee of Valley View Local School District or the owner of the business, which is probably one of the school board members. So as a reminder, this board must be in place before any action can take place, like set income tax rate, collect income taxes. So if you know of anyone from the township that may want to serve on the JED board, let us know. Because again, the vote is coming out quickly and that board needs to be formed. And the problem, possibly a problem, the JED board positions are all non-paying, so it's all volunteer. So I'm just thinking about being on that. So again, the BZA meeting was held on 3/8/22 to consider the conditional use application and 4 variance applications concerning the building of a new PK school in German Township. All applications were approved. This will allow the schools to apply for a zoning certificate permit from German Township to allow them to start applying for building permits through Montgomery County. So the question, there is a fee required when applying for a zoning certificate. Our fee schedule adopted 8/10/2020 states the fee for new commercial construction is $600 plus 20 cents per square foot total area. The new school building has 217,500 square feet. If we follow our fee schedule, the fee for the zoning certificate would be $44,100. I did some research on zoning fees for new commercial buildings in various neighborhood townships, and they are as follows. Perry Township has a flat fee of $600. Miami Township has 7 cents per square foot, a $600 minimum, a $10,000 maximum. Washington Township has a 7 cent per square foot. In this case, it would come out to $15,225. Jackson Township does things a little differently. It goes by the total valuation of the building, $100 for the first $35,000, $2 for every $1,000 afterwards. So figuring a $60 million project estimated fee would be a staggering $120,100. So what I would like to propose, the German Township, and we don't necessarily have to do this tonight because the zoning certificate has not been issued yet. They haven't made the application. What I would propose, the German Township reduce the fee for the zoning certificate for the Valley View Local School District to $10,000 following the Miami Township lead. My rationale is that $44,100 would be excessive, and by reducing the fee, we are benefiting our school district and our students by allowing the school to use the excess $34,100 toward other expenses building the new school. Since the schools have yet to apply for the zoning certificate, we can decide on deduction at our next meeting. So again, if we go by the zoning fee schedule, we're talking $44,000. Yeah,
it's a lot.
So I think because we have no maximum, like Miami Township has a $10,000 maximum, that's my rationale is to just, I mean, still it's basically $10,000 free money because it really doesn't cost us much to write that zoning certificate. Consider everything. Let's think about that. Again, I don't think we need to decide that tonight, but I think that would be certainly one option. Let me look at that. Just old business. I spoke to Shauna Close about adding a note to the trash bills to try to get residents to be included in our email list, and unfortunately, this is impossible. So we will have to think of some other way to increase the email list. The zoning department has received 4 complaint letters concerning the pole barn and property at 6590 Diamond Mill Road. That is, with the complaint that the barn is being used for running a business in violation of the zoning resolution. Planning on having our zoning inspector visit the property in question to verify the complaints. If a violation is suspected, I would consult with our legal representative to determine our next steps. So again, that deals with the pole barn that was built at the top of the hill on Diamond Mill and is being used by the Germantown Oil Company to house their big tanker trucks overnight, which was not really what the application was approved for. So we'll continue to work into that. So that's all I have for old business. So I'd like to move to go into executive session for ORC 121.22G1 to consider the discipline of a public employee. May I have a roll call vote?
Mr. Cross?
Yes.
Mr. Stubbs?
I need to second that.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
So I'll second that.
Thank you. Mr. Cross?
Yes.
Mr. Stubbs?
Yes.
Mr. Potter?
Yes.
It is now, I have 7:56.
You need to include.
I'm
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I have now 7:56. The board will now move into executive session. I would like to invite Fiscal Officer Mark Houston virtually by phone and attorneys Anu Sharma and Nathaniel Peterson into the executive session. So we will move into executive session. You're certainly welcome to stick around.